They didn't expect a tea time to hijack the timeline, but it did. One quiet off-season announcement, a midweek pro-am in Florida, and suddenly the conversation wasn't about box scores or usage rates. It was about reach, resonance, and who actually moves people to show up. A single appearance in another sport turned into a referendum on fame, value, and the future of the women's game. The surprise isn't that a star is dabbling in golf. It's that the ripple touched every corner of the discourse, from traditional media to the most chaotic comment threads. What makes this moment irresistible is how ordinary it looks on paper. A Wednesday round, a new audience, a few sponsor logos sharing the frame. But the reaction tells a much bigger story about how cross-sport visibility works, why certain names pull gravity across platforms, and how a league can either harness that lift or get dragged behind it. If you're watching closely, this isn't just a celebrity cameo. It's an index of where the culture is pointing next. Here's the reality stripped of noise. A top basketball star slots into a pro-am at a marquee LPGA week, the kind of polished, sponsor-friendly event that thrives on personality as much as precision. It's not a contract to chase trophies on Sunday. It's a strategic midweek moment that unites two ecosystems for a few hours. And, crucially, a few million impressions. Organizers light up because they know what happens when a mainstream magnet steps onto a tee box. Local interest spikes, casuals peek in, and suddenly a Wednesday feels like a Saturday. That single scheduling line explains why phones start recording long before the first swing. Pro-ams are built for connection. Fans get proximity, partners get deliverables, and athletes get a safe space to flex charisma without risking their primary season. Put a basketball name there, and you have instant crossover. The spark is simple. The combustion, as always, is what the internet does next. Brands aren't sentimental, they're mathematical. They study who multiplies attention without setting fires that sponsors need to put out. A star who travels well between audiences becomes a marketer's dream. Low friction, high relevance, repeatable moments. A pro-am is perfect terrain for that equation. Visually clean, family-friendly, and loaded with micro-content. Clips of a smooth iron shot or a laughing putt attempt reach fans who may not watch a full broadcast but will happily double-tap a 12-second highlight at lunch. Quick ask while you're here. If you like this kind of breakdown and want more crossover deep dives the moment they happen, hit subscribe and tap the bell so the next video actually finds you. It tells the algorithm you want more of this, which pushes the channel out of the basement and puts these stories on your homepage, not buried behind big network uploads. A like helps the video travel today. A comment, even a single sentence on who you think benefits most from these events, teaches the system who to show this to tomorrow. Tiny actions on your end equal massive oxygen for a small channel like ours. This isn't random synergy. It's a tested funnel. Attach a household name to a polished week, give media a clean angle, and let the overlap audience discover a tour they rarely sample. That's why these moments get greenlit. That's why they trend. The short-term value is impressions. The long-term value is habit formation. Someone who came for a celebrity clip leaves with 2 LPGA names to watch on Sunday. Then the comments arrive, and every familiar argument boots up like an old laptop. Some cheer the visibility. More eyes means more budgets, more airtime, more young players seeing a path. Others grumble about overexposure and main character syndrome, as if attention were a zero-sum trophy. The rivalry framing pops up because rivalry is the internet's favorite seasoning. Sprinkle it on anything and the post tastes spicier. A harmless tea time morphs into a barometer for who deserves the spotlight. It's worth pausing on the word deserve. In sports, deserve is rarely about moral purity. It's about who can carry a story across platforms without collapsing under it. When one athlete's name consistently vaults beyond the core fan base, the narrative resurfaces whether anyone asks for it or not. The pattern is predictable, but the feelings are real. If you're another player working just as hard, it can sting to watch someone else's casual moment outrun your biggest nights. That tension doesn't make anyone a villain. It just makes humans human. What complicates all of this is how algorithms keep score. Engagement rewards extremes, adulation on one side, suspicion on the other, while burying the measured middle. The result is a feedback loop where any cross-sport headline resurrects the same debate louder than before. The key distinction to keep in mind: the volume of the conversation is not the truth of it. But volume does shape memory, and memory shapes who brands call next. There are, broadly, two ascents. One is the quiet climb: stack production, speak sparingly, let the stat line do most of the talking. The other is the vivid climb: embrace the microphone, build a memorable persona, turn pressure into theater. Both can work. The problem arrives when a shrinking spotlight forces comparison, as if only one method is legitimate. That's when praise for one morphs into suspicion of the other, and nuanced differences get flattened into bad faith archetypes: overhyped darling versus overlooked grinder. The truth is less dramatic and more useful. Audiences contain multitudes. Some are drawn to restraint and craft. Others respond to edge and bravado. Smart careers learn which current they swim in and stop trying to be everything everywhere. If the league is healthy, it doesn't choose between archetypes. It packages both and sells the contrast. That contrast is content. It's a reason to watch on Tuesday and again on Friday, because you're not just tracking scores, you're tracking styles. Seen this way, the Pro-Am cameo becomes a case study in brand positioning, not a referendum on character. The player who makes crossovers feel easy will get those calls first. The player who crackles in high-tension playoff minutes will own that stage when it arrives. The goal isn't to argue the other lane out of existence. It's to make your lane unmistakable. Zoom out to the organizational level and the stakes get clearer. A surge of attention is a gift and a stress test. It's a gift because it moves the sport into rooms where it was previously an afterthought. It's a stress test because uneven exposure can harden into resentment if the institution doesn't redirect that light strategically. The playbook is not mysterious. Schedule wisely, package stars together, and design shoulder programming that turns tourist eyeballs into season-long interest. That means resisting the urge to milk a single name until the well runs dry. Instead, build tentpoles, national windows, rivalry weeks, all-star formats that spotlight the anchor while introducing 2 or 3 adjacent stories each time. Think of it like a playlist. You arrive for the hit single, you stay because the next track surprised you. If the league nails that rhythm, a Pro-Am clip on Wednesday can translate into a Friday night rating bump 6 weeks later. The locker room side matters too. Internally, leadership needs to protect cohesion without policing personality. That balance is delicate. Celebrate the spike without turning teammates into background actors. Strong teams talk openly about the economics of attention, so it doesn't fester in silence. When players see the rising tide translating into better travel, higher minimums, or smarter media windows, the skepticism softens. The signal becomes growth, not favoritism. There's a simple, high-leverage pivot both top names could make tomorrow. Collaborate on something that reframes the narrative from either-or to and. Picture a charity skins game pairing W players with LPGA pros, proceeds to youth programs, streamed in a tight modern package. The visuals would be gold, the mic'd-up banter would travel, and the headline writes itself. You don't have to erase competitive tension. You just have to point it at something bigger than a quote tweet loop. On the individual level, the smartest counter-move to feeling overshadowed is radical specificity. Instead of vague sub-tweets or defensiveness, drop a project that can't be mistaken for anyone else's. A community clinic series designed around your positional skill, a short-form doc with a single unforgettable story, a limited-run product tied to scholarships or courts refurbished in your hometown. Attention hates vagueness. It loves crisp edges. Give it edges, and it will remember your name without borrowing someone else's keyword. For the star at the center of the moment, the optimal response remains disciplined. Undertalk, over-deliver, and share credit in every microphone zone. The less you stoke the rivalry frame, the faster it starves. That restraint isn't passive, it's active brand strategy. It converts heat into longevity. This flare-up touched a live wire because it isn't just about a golf round. It's about succession. Every era asks the same questions in new clothes. Who gets to be the face? Who decides? And what happens to everyone else while the crown is being fitted? Nostalgia and novelty collide. Veterans want the game respected. Newcomers want the ceiling shattered. Media wants both in the same thumbnail. It's messy, and that mess is strangely productive. Friction makes sparks, and sparks are visible from far away. There's also a deeper psychological layer most timelines skip. Success reframes proximity. If you're close to the epicenter but not inside it, every headline can feel like a reminder of the inch you haven't crossed. That inch is invisible to outsiders and unbearably loud to the person who lives with it. When we judge how someone reacts, we forget how heavy that inch can be. Compassion isn't trending, but it is clarifying. None of this means every critique is envy or every celebration is objective. It means the human story underneath the metrics is what keeps sports compelling. We want to see great things happen, and we want to understand what it costs. A pro-am swing, a smile at the gallery, a quick sideline interview. These are tiny windows into a much larger negotiation between ambition and attention. Why do these crossovers keep landing? Because they run on a simple, durable blueprint. Step 1. A star with mass appeal whose highlights compress into satisfying clips and whose interviews don't scare brand managers. Step 2. A partner sport with high production value and a calendar window that doesn't cannibalize the primary season. Step 3. A sponsor with runway to experiment. Stitch those together and you get shareable moments that can be replicated without feeling stale. Execution details matter. Outfit the day with a few planned beats, meet and greet for junior golfers, a short clinic, a quick Q&A that yields 2 memorable lines, and then leave space for the unplanned moment that becomes the moment. This is part choreography, part opportunism. The content team should know what stories they want and be nimble enough to pivot when a serendipitous shot, laugh, or exchange deserves top billing. Athletes outside the headline can apply the same blueprint at different scales. Maybe it isn't golf. Maybe it's a fashion capsule with a local designer, a gaming charity stream, or a weekend wellness retreat for youth athletes. The point is to build a lane that rewards your energy rather than chasing someone else's outline. The algorithm senses imitation. It also recognizes originality. Underneath the chatter, the ask from fans is simple. Great games, real personalities, and the feeling that the sport is moving forward. They don't need spotless narratives. They need stakes they can feel. A midweek golf cameo delivers 2 of the 3 while the schedule is quiet: personality and forward motion. If you're worried about competitive integrity, remember that none of this replaces the work. It amplifies it. Fans, especially newer ones, also want an entry point that doesn't feel like homework. Crossover appearances offer that on-ramp. You watch for the novelty, you stay for the humanity, you return for the excellence. That sequence is how casuals become regulars. It's also why thoughtful crossovers beat random cameos. One grows the tent, the other just sparks a day's worth of gifts. For day one diehards who worry, the spectacle dilutes the sport. The antidote is quality. If the next season delivers nail-biters, rivalries with substance, and stars who are great at the sport before they are great at marketing, the culture holds. Show people a reason to care, then hand them a schedule full of reasons to keep caring. That's the formula that lasts. This part rarely trends, but it decides futures. A sponsored Wednesday with a basketball star on a golf course becomes an asset in media negotiations because it proves the sport can command attention outside the usual lanes. That leverage doesn't come from vibes. It comes from numbers. Attendance bump, unique viewers, social minutes watched, search queries upticks. Executives stare at those lines when deciding everything from travel upgrades to how many studio segments your highlights get next spring. The network side sees it too. When a name drags casual interest across calendar deserts, programmers remember. That memory turns into friendlier windows, better shoulder content, and promo reads during tentpole broadcasts. None of that is flashy enough for a tweet, but it's the scaffolding that lets a league grow without wobbling. For the athletes, the math is personal. More visibility can mean more leverage on endorsement renewals, more freedom to say no to deals that don't fit, more budget for their own passion projects. That agency compounds over time. The trick is to treat moments like this as seeds, not trophies. Plant them, water them, and let them mature into something bigger than a trending topic. So where does that leave us? With a small scene that revealed a big truth. The future of the women's game won't be built by choosing a single face and burning it into every billboard. It'll be built by stacking moments that invite new people in and give veterans fresh reasons to stay loud. A Pro-Am cameo, a packed Friday night, a mic'd-up rivalry game, a doc short with a gut-punch story. Together, these form the lattice that real growth climbs. If you felt the reaction was over the top, you're not wrong. The internet exaggerates everything. If you felt the excitement was earned, you're not wrong either. Momentum is hard to fake. The practical takeaway is to convert heat into structure, not squabble. Collaboration where possible, clarity where necessary, and excellence everywhere. That's how this stops being a moment and becomes a movement. If this breakdown gave you a cleaner lens on the noise, do the tiny things that make a massive difference for a small channel. Subscribe and ring the bell so you actually see the next upload. Like to push this video to more people who might care. And drop a comment with your take. Does crossover visibility grow the pie or narrow the spotlight? Your engagement is the engine that lets us keep making long-form, research-driven storytelling instead of chasing clickbait. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.